Sangham abhipujayami Tamaham Sangham Sivasanamami. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, not busy with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm, and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be happy, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be happy. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to false views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being free from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, no questions? Oh, the last one. Here we go. Let's see what we have today. The first question today which comes up. Easter retreat, 4 o'clock to 4:30, rise with gusto. I think I'm reading the wrong side. If one day Mara comes to see you and asks when you will retire, would you say, "Nola, Mara, I will continue to teach at least another 10 years and more"? I know you, Mara. Okay, yeah, that's true. You're not Mara. If one day Mara would come to see you and ask, when will you retire, would you say, "No, La Mara, I will continue to teach at least another 10 years and more"? Or I will retire when 100 arahats occurred because they listened to my teachings, or they come to my retreat. Your comment: thank you for being our amazing teacher. Please do not retire yet. We need your many, 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 many more years to come. Take good care. That's very kind of you. The lovely thing about Mara is you never overcome Mara by force. You don't have like a punch-up or a war with Mara. All you do is you say, "Mara, I know you." And then Mara admits defeat. He just holds his head, slumps his shoulders, and just slinks away. Mara is defeated through knowledge. I was really impressed with that when I first read that. Many other kind of evil things, you go to war with them. But instead of going to war with Mara, you just, Mara, okay, you're messing around. You're just trying to control things, but I refuse to be controlled. And Mara slinks away and disappears, and he can't defeat you. So if Mara says, "Ajahn Brahm, I think you should retire," I'll say, "Yeah, good idea." Dear Ajahn, is the sixth sense? Sixth sense equals mind, equals consciousness. What is soul according to Buddhism? Thank you. First of all, the sixth sense is mind. Consciousness? Which particular consciousness do you mean? I've already mentioned, every time I use the word consciousness, I always make it plural. Consciousnesses. 6 different types. All similar because some of them happen together so often. But nevertheless, the sixth sense is mind consciousness. Fifth sense, body consciousness. Sense of feeling. Fourth, what's that one? Smell. Yeah, smell. Taste. And sight and sound. 6 consciousnesses. When you start calling it consciousness, people have this idea that this is like a soul, just an essential part of who you are, that you are consciousness. But there's 6 different types. Which one do you mean? And when you call it consciousnesses, straight away it makes a huge point on how the Buddha actually taught that what is soul according to Buddhism? Soul according to Buddhism is a synonym for delusion. That's why sometimes people actually look at me, "Ajahn Brahm, you've got no soul." And I say, correct. You all know me, it doesn't mean I've got no emotion. Do I have emotion? Emotions come, emotions go. Which one is the real me? That's a nice thing to actually know. Of all the things, you think you are, who are you really? which one of these phenomena you associate with yourself, with your soul, are actually real. That's why we do the meditation, because things disappear. That's why I kind of preferred rock music than soul music, because soul music was anti-Buddhism. I'm already choking there. But nevertheless, it's nice to understand the Buddha was very clear on that. And even like being a soul one, you see that this thing which you thought you were, you're not. The right view comes first as a stream winner. And then from that, it gets even stronger, and you become a once returner. So you leave this place, and you come back here as a once returner. Your last visit to earth. And then you become a non-returner. And as a non-returner, you disappear from this world and go and get reborn in the Sudawasa. The Sudawasa, sometimes you may compare that. Where does a bodhisattva go? To hell? Oh, come on. Don't go anywhere. The Sudawasa, the pure abodes. And because that's the original teaching of the Buddhas, easy to demonstrate it was much earlier. But then they said, no, there's another path. If you have enough confidence and faith, you get reborn with the next Buddha in the Buddha land in the pure abodes. Did I pronounce them correctly? There's no Mahayana Buddhists here. They're not. Oh yes, okay. Mahayana, okay, very good. That's the best. But anyway, in those pure abodes, whatever you want, you get straight away. You don't miss for anything, and you're with the Bodhisattva. When the Bodhisattva of Maitreya gets reborn, you get reborn with him. The whole lot is just a bit dodgy. I always thought that, how can you do that? You get whatever you want, all your desires are fulfilled, whatever it is. Now, even wrong desires. You fancy somebody else's wife. That's really wrong, isn't it? All your desires are fulfilled. And then afterwards, the next life, you get reborn with the Buddha and get fully enlightened. You made bad karma. You can't expect to get enlightened in the next life if you made bad karma. Can you? No, it's a bit sort of dodgy. But anyway, the real idea of soul, we always believe there's an essential you. Each one of you, I mean, some of you have lived enough years now, haven't you seen great changes in you? If someone had seen me at the time I gave a live eel to my mother and saw me now being a senior monk teaching meditation, would you think I was the same person? You haven't seen me when I was giving an eel to my mum. Naughty. I've improved, haven't I, over all those years? I hope. Please say yes. Yeah, thank you, no. So the point is that if you think there is a soul, what does a soul mean? I actually changed the word, the meaning of soul, in the books which I wrote to call it permanent essence. Something inside you which was there today, there yesterday, there when you were born, there in your last life, your next life. Is there something which is always the same? Or is everything changeable? And after a while, you see, even in this life, there's so much which is changeable. And because there's so much changeable, what actually remains from when you were born, from when you were young and giving and making explosions in the local park in Acton, and when you were being really kind, what is Is there anything changed, or is it all the same? If there is an unchanging, permanent essence to you, there must be something I can recognize in my past, in my present, in the future. Something which always is there. What could that ever be? You have a look, there's nothing. All things are changing. Sabbe sankhara anicca. All things are in constant movement and change. So that is some of the things which the Buddha said. However, if you say, well, you're not your consciousnesses, it's easy to see that consciousness is always changing. What I'm conscious of today, I wasn't conscious of yesterday. The objects of consciousness, the faculty of consciousness in each of the senses continues to change all the time. Which one is you? None of them. And especially when the thing we call consciousness starts to really mess around in the deep meditations. And there you see they disappear. And there's an obvious one. So sometimes I always think that the old movies I used to see, they always had to know, will the real Ajahn Brahm please step forward? Who is the real Ajahn Brahm? I don't know. There ain't one. How do you know who you are? You know, sometimes you make a mistake, like you present an eel to your mum, and I said, that wasn't the real me. That's not, who I really am. Well, who was I? Who did that? It was me. You change all the time. Anyway, see what else is here. Oh my goodness, a long one again. Dear Ajahn Brahm, you often talk about difficult days in Thailand as a monk. I do those because, just to kind of impress you. I had a wonderful time in Thailand. I really enjoyed myself there. Things that you needed to do to remain as a monk and achieve your goals. I never thought like that. Honestly, the goals which I had were just easy to experience, the deep meditations. Other little goals of just being able to experience weird stuff. Because I still kept that idea of being a psychic researcher and being a scientist. And so whenever there was any things like ghosts, how would I go looking for them? And I think I did tell you that story when I did actually go literally looking for ghosts. I didn't. Okay, I told that to a few people recently. That was when Wat Ba Nana Chat, that's the International Forest Monastery. And that's where there's many Western monks, and Ajahn Chah trained them very well because he knew how to train water buffalo, and it was exactly the same training Western monks as training water buffalo. Put them this way, push them that way, and then they can do it. So one day, because Wat Banana Cha was a cremation ground. It started off like that. So it was cremations for the villages, maybe twice a week on average. There were lots of cremations. Lots of ghosts should be there. So I remember one day I decided to say, okay, let's go and find some. I went looking for ghosts, seriously. And I wasn't scared, because you've been trained in psychic research, when I was at Cambridge. So when I went looking for those ghosts, of course I found a couple. Real ones. They're villagers. And so when I saw that first ghost, instead of running away, I started walking towards him. It was a guy. And the guy said, he actually shouted at me, "Ah, you can see us?" I said, "Yeah, why not?" And so I went towards him and talked to him. And he took me to his friends. You know, in these forest monasteries, there's not just one ghost, there's a whole group of them. Didn't tell that story to you? Oh. Okay, yeah. But anyway, at the end, of that, we didn't have any fear between us. They were just other beings, like animals. I just gave them loving kindness. And I asked them, I remember this is so many years ago, 48 years ago or something. I asked them, anything you want, you need. And what they asked for is some gel, which is a northeastern, very hot chili paste. I didn't eat that, but there was some on offer the next day, so I took some and left it out there for them. These are just other animals or other beings. You're not afraid of them. You want to try and help them. They help you as well. So I love those weird stories. And I knew, okay, I said I was going to tell this story. This is one of those stories I haven't told for a long time, but it's a really good one, a real one. Actually, the one going looking for the ghost is real. But this particular one was a very famous story. There was an American young man. He had just done his Peace Corps work in Thailand. And having finished the Peace Corps work, he knew some local Thai language, and he was impressed with Buddhism and being a monk, and he knew how actually relatively easy it was to become a monk in Thailand. So he decided to see if he can spend a few more months on his visa before going back to the US, it's quite a few years ago now, as a monk. So, like many people, how did he become a monk? So he was staying in a hotel on the edge of Bangkok, and he asked a concierge. And the concierge was really confused. You know what other people wanted to do, nightclubs and stuff. And he said, well, I don't really know what you should do as a Westerner to become a monk, but he said there was a monastery in the center of Bangkok called Wat Bawan. Full name, Wat Bawani Wat. And sometimes they have Western monks there. So go there. Go in the early morning, take some food. That's the tiffin can you were talking about. And some food. And then when the first monk comes out for alms round, give him some alms food, and then ask him, you have enough Thai to ask him, I want to become a monk. And that's what he was told. So he went really early in the morning, got up early, and he went out to Wat Bawan. And I went there so many times, I know the place. And this particular American, he got there way too early. And the place was all locked up, and he was just walking outside, wondering what to do next. Didn't see any monks yet. They hadn't come out the gate for going on alms round yet. But there was one Thai man, and he was dressed in old-fashioned Thai clothes. This was a Peace Corps worker, so he could recognize that, not the usual attire. And the man could speak perfect English. And he asked him, so what are you doing outside of here this time in the morning? And the American said he wanted to become a monk. And so the Thai said, you come way too early, but it doesn't matter, I can take you inside. I have the keys. So this Thai man opened up this big metal gate outside the main ordination hall. And he let the American in, and then walked to the Upasita hall, that's where the ordinations happen. Walked into there and turned on the lights, took out another key and opened the door to the ordination hall. And they both went inside. And in those Thai ordination halls, especially Wat Bawani Way, there was the head monastery of the Dhammayutta sect. And so he went inside and he saw all these murals on the walls. If you've ever been to Thailand and admired those murals, you know what I'm talking about. Those murals are like cartoons, but they don't go like left to right or right to left. They go all over the place, this way, that way. If you know the story, which are mostly from the famous stories from the time of the Buddha, you can actually trace it. This is what happened here, and this is the next thing which happened. And you understand what each one of those murals mean. This Thai man was an expert on these murals. You know, he actually could relate the story, you know, of what happened in the time of the Buddha or whatever, and knew exactly, you know, who was who, and also he even knew who had actually offered those paintings when they were first painted, because it's usually a family of somebody. You maybe have lost your wife, or you lost your husband, or you lost your father, and they donated this painting, you know, in the hall, the ordination hall of Wat Bhawan. And it was fascinating, this American said. This Thai had so much information. And the time went past, and after an hour and a half or a couple of hours, he finished. And the Thai man said, in a few minutes, the Thai monks will come out now for their alms round. But don't just wait for any, or give your food to any of the monks. There's like an old one who's quite senior, who's going to come out of that door in about 10 minutes. Offer the food to him, and he will actually help you start your training to become a monk. Thank you, thank you, thank you, said the American. And the Thai man just locked up the hall and locked up the main door and also turned off the lights. And the American went out, and exactly what the Thai man had said. This elderly monk came out, and he gave some alms food to him and asked to be a monk. And so the elderly Thai monk said, just wait here. So he waited there for half an hour until the Thai monk came back. And the Thai monk took him inside and basically started his training to become a monk. And after about 3 or 4 days, the American complained that the monk they'd given him to train him could not speak English very well. And he said, look, I really need to learn, you know, what are the rules of being a monk? You know, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to chant? Can you not find a better person who speaks better English to train me? And the Thai monk said, this is the best one we have. We've given him to you. And that's when the American said, what about that man who met me the first day? The one who took me inside to see the paintings in the hall, who turned on the electricity in the hall. And that's when, as they say, the shit hit the fan. What man? The man who saw me the first time, you know, he had the keys in his pocket, he opened up this gate. Anyone who knows Wat Bhawan, that's called the Royal Gate. Only the royal family in Bangkok can use that gate. Even when I went there, I could not use that, even though I was a monk. And no layman has those keys. Where he turned on electricity, you can't turn on the electricity there. And no layman has got the keys to the main Uposatha hall, got too much valuable stuff there. And no layperson knew all those details of those paintings inside the hall. This was really weird. So they took him immediately to the head monk of Wat Bhawan, who later became the Sangharaja of Thailand, Somdet Jhana Sangwara. And just in case any of you are interested, Somdet Jhana Sangwara, who eventually became the head monk of Thailand, even once came to the BSWA. He came to Perth once. And that Buddha statue, which we have in one of the side rooms, not the main hall, not the community hall, but I think it's in what do they, not the kids' room? No, I think it's the kids' room. He offered that to us many years ago before I came. Somebody Jhana Sangha was visited Perth. And anyhow, so Somdet Jhana, he wasn't a Somdet yet. Oh, was he a Somdet? Yeah, probably a Somdet, but not Sangharaja yet. And then he listened really carefully, because it was true. No layperson has those keys, and no one is allowed through that gate without being in the company of one of the royal family. And also, even the Somdet didn't know all those stories about, the people who offered those paintings. Because it was built, what was it, Wat Pah Wan, 180 years ago or 200 years ago or something? A long time ago. And the Somdet was so interested, he actually asked the American to stop and start from the beginning again. He got the secretary to write all this down. This was really weird. And of course, at the very end, the Somdet asked this American, who was this man? I don't know anything about him. What did he look like? He was in traditional Thai clothes, but he looked Thai. How many times? They all look the same. And so, give me some details, what was he wearing and what did he look like? And so this poor American, he was just scratching his head. And as he was scratching his head, he froze. It was him. Had a portrait of him on the wall, of the guy who opened up all these gates and told him how to become a monk. It was one of the builders of that temple. I think it was, I always get this wrong, King Rama IV, I think it was. And when I told that story many times. One time when I told it over in, I think in, the Sydney Thai consulate. And the Sydney consul was listening to the talk. And he interrupted me, he said, I am on the committee of Wat Pah Wan, as well as being the consul in Sydney. He was on their committee, and he said, that's perfectly true. I've seen the transcript of what was said, exactly as you said. An old king of Thailand who passed away so many years ago, who was there when that temple was built, who could, I don't know where he got those keys from, but he certainly could let you in to Wat Pah Wan through the royal gate, because he was a king, deceased, but he had permission to go through. Could open up the door and tell you all those secrets about those paintings. And that's in their history now, of Wat Pah Wan. That monk eventually did ordain, and he did go and stay with this Thai monk in the northeast of Thailand, Ajahn Brahm, who actually came here a couple of times. He's a very good monk, Ajahn Brahm. But the American monk, he went over to the United States, and I haven't heard from him since. It's a true story. A real one, recorded. The record is there in Thai, over in Wat Pah Wan. Really cool, eh? It's only because a person wanted to become a monk, didn't know what to do, and this person came to help him. This is a much better story. I should have told this last night. Than the coffin ghost. But there are some really nice stories. And they're sort of unbelievable, but they're true. So anyway, that was that. Oh yeah?
What is the reason
because they're confused. This is not a ghost story. This is a heavenly being story. Deva, the king of Thailand, Rama IV, was not a ghost. And they can sort of come down from their realm of existence to help.
You're talking about you earlier.
Yeah, the coffin ghost, that's a kind of a joke, but a person who becomes a ghost only for a certain amount of time. I remember talking with, you weren't here when Bernard came. Bernard Carr was a really close friend, the first Buddhist I ever met. And he was a theoretical physicist, part of the Astronomical Society and the Buddhist Society. We just happened to do things together. It's interested in the same things. So we did a talk over in UWA recently. And it was he who actually told me, because he does all the research. He stayed as the president of the Psychic Research Society now in London. And he said all the records, the scientific evidence, there's no ghosts who are, I think, older than about 180 years or something. That's the maximum time you actually spend as a ghost. And then somebody actually usually shares merits with you, or you have some experience where you can let go of that attachment to that realm, whether that's fear, and get reborn in a nice realm. So it's not that long you stay as a ghost. Okay, I did tell the story about the Aussie lady who went to the dungeons in England just to have a look at old architecture. And she went there with a guide, and when she came out of those dungeons, she couldn't help but ask this guide, have you ever seen a ghost? You've been walking through these spooky corridors for so long, taking people around. Have you ever seen a ghost? And that's when the guide said, no, I've never seen a ghost. And she asked a stupid question, how long have you been living in this castle? And that's when he said, over 300 years. That's a very good joke. I really like that one. If he's been living there 300 years, he's a ghost. Or she is. Oh, no, the guide was. But anyhow, that was just a joke. Usually the ghosts don't live longer than 180 years or so. So the ghost realm, this is just people taking notes, taking the records, putting them down in books and keeping them, comparing them, like the lifespan of a ghost in London. Do you know an older ghost over in Colombo? Has anyone seen an older ghost in Malaysia? You ever seen any in Germany? There aren't any. They have a lifespan too. And they're not dangerous. They're confused, that's all. That's why they don't know what they're up to. But the other thing, I said that seeing a ghost, they were scared of me. This is honest. This is the truth which you should all know. If you look at the different hierarchies of beings in the universe, the cosmology of Buddhism, we got human beings, and then who's the next level of beings underneath human beings? Animals. Underneath animals there is ghosts. We're 2 levels high, we've got much more power than they have. All they can do is scare you. There was one of these, he's still alive, he used to be a monk, and you know who he is? I won't say. But anyway, he doesn't live there. He supports one of our monasteries a bit north of here. And he was a disciple of Ajahn Tate. And Ajahn Tate, a great monk, told him just how to deal with ghosts. And this monk was staying in one of these monasteries which was well known for their ghosts. He was meditating in the monastery one day, and then he was tired. It's like when you meditate, sometimes you get a bit dull. He leant against the wall, put his feet out, and then he felt something touch his feet. And he thought, somebody's trying to wake me up. So he leaned back off the wall, sat up straight, and he said, thank you. He thought it was a heavenly being. But then that was only the first time this being came in. And as soon as it started keep coming in and just irritating him. It also came in with a bad smell, like a rotten flesh. And he realized this is not a heavenly being, this is a ghost. And it would always come and just poke him, and he got really irritated after a while. And so one day, he said to the ghost, as it came in, he put down another cushion next to him, this monk. And the monk said to the ghost, you sit down here and meditate with me if you want to come in, or get out of here. Really fiercely. And that's the last he saw of the ghost. The ghost went. And I say that to each one of you, seriously. If ever you see or feel there's a ghost there, please exert your authority, use your power as a more advanced being, and tell it, get out of here. It's a long time to come and see me. Get out now. The ghost has to go. They can't stay with you. And if you don't believe me, and you don't really say that with that confidence that you've got that power and authority, tell that ghost, in cottage number 1, the teacher's cottage, not cottage number 1, next to cottage number 1, Ajahn Brahm is in there, in the room as you go in to the left. I don't want to scare you. Tell him to come into my room. Ooh, no. And I'll sort him out for you. I'm being honest, the monks have way more power. And the ghosts know that. Okay, anyway. You often talk about difficult days in Thailand as a monk. Not difficult days, you learn so much. Even like the heavenly beings and how they will help you if you need something. Okay, I can't really refuse this other story. You know about the Pepsi Colas? How many of you have not heard the Pepsi Cola story? Only 3 of you, 4? Okay, 5. There was an old story, I think it was Ajahn Chorp. He was over in Burma during the Second World War. In those days, as a monk, you didn't need passports, you could go wherever you wanted. Burma had some good teachers, and monks were always welcome there, and not far from the north of Thailand. But then, during the war, the Second World War, I think the Brits, my ancestors, they captured Mandalay. And when they captured Mandalay, there was a big change in the attitude of the Burmese. And even the Brits got a bit scared. Whenever they saw a Thai monk, they thought he was a spy. So they treat them very, very badly. Even beat them and try and get information out of the Thai monks. So once Mandalay fell to the British Raj, that's when the Thai monks were told, you better get out as soon as you can. Burma is now dangerous for you. But you couldn't go on the normal roads. Those normal roads were patrolled by the British. You get captured. So he said you have to go on the remote roads over the mountains. I never walked into Burma, but really close. And those mountain roads were really steep. Up and down, up and down. And hardly anybody lived there. That's why that was the border between Burma and Thailand. So anyway, this monk decided best choice is to go back to Thailand. No aircraft, no cars or trucks or anything, you just had to walk. And this was a very remote area, so he hardly ever saw a village or saw a human being. And For many days he hadn't had any food. And because of the terrain, really, really steep, he started getting weaker and weaker. And he started to think, there's a good chance he might even die of hunger. And he also remembered some of the suttas where the heavenly beings would help good monks if they were really close to death or needed some assistance. So he made a resolution. And his resolution was, if there are heavenly beings, I'm a good monk, he was a good monk, a good forest monk, I'm only just traveling because I have to. If there's any heavenly beings, please help. And shortly after he made that adhitthana, that determination, he turned, this was written in his biography, he turned a corner, and there in the middle of the jungle was a well-dressed man. He wasn't wearing rags like the people who lived in the forest would wear. It looked like he'd just appeared from Bangkok or somewhere. And he also had this tiffin can, these 3 or 4 containers or trays, one on top of the other, which is how many people used to bring food to the monastery. And so the layman who was there never said anything. And the monk never said anything. Because our tradition was, we just walk, and if somebody wanted to offer us something, they'd say the word. If it was a man, Nimon Krap, lady Nimon Ka. If you've ever been to Thailand, you've seen that. So he walked past this gentleman who was just standing there by the side of the road, well dressed with a tiffin can. And when he walked past, that's when the Thai gentleman said, Nimon Krap. So the monk turned round and he opened his bowl, and then the man opened the tiffin can and put in hot rice. Hot temperature-wise. It's just been cooked. And then a couple of curries. Not the stuff you get in jungles. I spent a lot of time in those jungles in the northeast and in the north. You get simple food there. You get really good food. You put in this monk's bowl, and then some fruit or sweets from the last bowl of the tiffin can. A really good meal. What this man was doing, in the middle of the jungle, when there was a monk coming past. The monk, we did not have any mobile phones in those days. You can't call up someone, please come and help. And it was 40 or something, 42 or whatever, around that time. Very well dressed, giving him really delicious warm food. How do you know I was there? Or I was coming. And the monk broke one of his rules. Not a big rule. He just asked the man, where have you come from? And the man never spoke. It's a true story. Just pointed upwards. There's a heavenly being. Would you believe that? So many years later, there was this young Western monk who was not that hungry, but he was really thirsty. And he was walking in the Phupan district in the northeast of Thailand. And he even did notice his feet were a bit swelling. That's what you get with dehydration. And anyway, he hadn't drunk any water for hours on his trip on the way to Sakonnakhon. And he hadn't seen any wells or any water courses. But then when he got to a ridge in the mountains, he could see in the valley there was a small village, maybe about 7 or 8 houses. And he knew from experience that one of those houses would be a general store. All the villages had that, even the new ones. And so he thought, general store, there would you have kerosene, cigarettes, rope, maybe some rice, and they'd also have some Pepsis. They always did. And so he made a resolution. Well, you know who that guy was, that's me. This is my nature, okay? I was like, I was struggling in Thailand with the heat, and I was a physicist before. So look, if there are heavenly beings, I think I deserve a Pepsi. That's what I determined. And I thought, I was a good monk. I was keeping my precepts, and I was just walking everywhere, not taking lifts in vehicles, getting somewhere, meditating a lot, keeping my precepts. So that was my resolution. Great chance to find out if there are heavenly beings. So when I think I'm better finish off tomorrow. No, I'm not going to do that. So when I walked into the village, those ways which I walk is like walking meditation. You just keep, that's how I was taught by Ajahn Brahm. You just look at body length in front of you, not to the left, not to the right, and always keep silence. And I just remember so often, I did this when I did these arms round in many places. I remember going into Roy Et once for an arms round. And when I went into Roy Et, the head monk said, "Oh, did you see that Western girl?" I said, "No. She put food in your bowl." Everyone was looking in front of me. So that's why I didn't see her. That's what happens when you keep your rules. You just look straight in front. Someone wants to offer food, open up your bowl, they put it in, and off you go. So anyway, when I went into this village, I could see through the corner of my eye the general store. There's a lot of people in it. They usually hang out there. I never said anything. I never changed my speed or slowed down or anything. Just carried on walking. I walked past the general store. No one stopped me. I thought, oh dear. There are no devas. And as soon as I thought that, I don't know, maybe a couple of meters past the entrance to the general store, "Nimon Kwap!" shouted someone behind me. So, as I was taught, I stopped, and I saw there's a man behind me, with an open bottle of chilled Pepsi Cola. That's why it took a few minutes to get it out of the refrigerator they had there, and to open the top and put the straw in. That was quite, would you be convinced? I obviously never said anything. "Nimonka!" Somebody else came running out of the shop with another bottle of Pepsi Cola. "Nimon Kwap!" A third person, a fourth person, a fifth person. "Nimon Kwap!" "Nimonka!" A sixth person, a seventh, an eighth, and a ninth. Just 9, not 10, not 8, just 9. I put all those 9 bottles of Pepsi Cola, all open with the straw in them, on the little bench outside. What is the lucky number in Thailand? You know that, Dr. Sudha? You know, what is the lucky number? 9, always is 9. Is that correct? Mrs. Barnes? 9? Yeah, 9 is the lucky number. So when I saw 9 bottles of Pepsi Cola, I put them in front of me. Okay, I admit it, there are heavenly beings, thank you so much. And then I drank from each one of them just a little bit, and it's a lot, when 9 bottles, just a little bit from each bottle, and gave the rest of the bottles to the kids. We're very happy. That was my Pepsi Cola story. I've only ever had that many Pepsi Colas without asking, only once in my life. And they just rehydrated me. Thank you. That's what happens. Anyway, so do you think that's about difficult days in Thailand as a monk? That was a wonderful day. The heavenly beings were looking after me. How did this experience shape your approach to teaching Buddhism? Gave me lovely stories. You just had a couple of them. They're weird stories, and as a scientist, you can actually say, these are real, heavenly beings are real, ghosts are real, they can't harm you, heavenly beings can help you, and there are things who can open doors which you're not supposed to go through, but you can. Buddhism to monks, nuns and lay people, particularly meditation. Oh, some of these monks, their meditation was really, really good. I already mentioned that Indonesian monk, Sudammo, and I'm just thinking of some of the other monks. They go off into the forests and the jungles, and they go there and they could meditate for days. It's kind of impossible. You sit down there and they just carry on meditating. And there was even this, I was telling this to Venerable Ajahn Brahm. There was another monk, he was one of Ajahn Chah's colleagues when he was a young monk. And this monk, I never saw him, he died before I went to Thailand. But he was quite well known and famous, Ajahn Tonglat, I think he was called. And whenever he went into the forest and saw a tiger, a real tiger, a wild one, he'd walk right up to it and kick it in the bum. It's not he wasn't afraid, he just kicked the tigers. And the tigers were scared of him so much they ran away all the time. Could you do that? I mean, big tigers, wild tigers, no, in the forest, not in the zoo like I was saying the other day. Tigers in the zoo are not so scary. He'd actually kick them with his foot. I only had barefoot. And the tigers didn't like him at all. I'm telling these stories, that's how it was told to me by Ajahn Chah. So it's a great sort of source of great stories. Your approach to pretty much everything seems so simple and relaxed, and rules are almost non-existent. Rules are non-existent. I haven't eaten in the afternoon for years, or evening. I keep all my rules. I haven't done any scalwaggery with ladies. I'm a good monk. The thing is, they don't stress rules. You just keep them. 5 precepts. I haven't taken alcohol, ever, for 51 years. I do know a couple of monks who got drunk. Can I tell their names? I know he'll probably tell me off, but do you know that Canadian monk? How many of you have been to the monks in Canada and also in San Francisco? You know him? His name begins with P. Any suggestions? P-A-S-S? I never told the whole story. He is like Canadian. He was one of them, the Canadian monks there, had received like a Christmas present from their mum. And the Christmas present was labelled wine gums. They thought, wine gums, they can't have real wine in them. They're just sweets. So just the 4 of these Canadians, actually one was a Thai, they ate the wine gums. They didn't actually read, what the was actually inside of them. They thought it was just sweets. But they had real wine in them. And because they hadn't eaten any alcohol for years, they all got a bit woozy. And I saw them. I didn't let them. I shouldn't really tell you, but it's not so long time. They're really good monks, all of them. But because they got woozy, they, from that time on, you always look to see if you get a gift from your mum or your brother or something. And make sure they call them wine gums. Make sure they don't have real wine in them or real alcohol in them. So it wasn't kind of their fault, but they should be a bit. It was funny to see these good monks being a bit exuberant. Okay. Rules are almost non-existent. No, the rules are really there. By the way, I really like the cool temperature in the meditation hall. Don't let them put it down. I never wrote that, that's here. I got lots of stories from Thailand in those days. And they're always really good fun stories. Dear Ajahn Brahm, the 4 postures, is it important to meditate in all of the 4 postures, or just day-to-day mindfulness in each? Not in each, whatever posture is comfortable for you. I did tell that story in Thailand about having scrub typhus. And even though I had this monk who had scrub typhus, even though he got into a deep meditation, when he came out afterwards, he looked at his posture. I've never seen that posture described in any book, ever. You know when you're sick in hospital, one leg this way, one leg that way, the arms all over the place. If you had a teacher of meditation, they'd say that's a terrible posture. But it worked. And that was really important for me. I'm glad that I had that experience in deep meditation in a really weird posture. Because it showed to me, it proved the posture is decided by your body. What feels comfortable to you? Ask your body how it is. And that's how my body, when I was in the fever, how it wanted to sit. Not sit, actually lay down on the bed. And it worked. Posture is just to make sure your body is as comfortable as possible so that you can let it go. That's all. When I finish meditating, I get ready to walk out of the hall, but was transfused by the Buddha statue and remained for 15 minutes, fully focused on the shrine, not wanting to leave. What are your thoughts on this phenomena, given that statues as such are inanimate objects? You reckon? That particular statue, all these Buddha statues have got relics in them. They install them, usually in the head. Please don't go and examine it, find out where. But they're in there. They put them in there to give it some bit more energy. That's one of the reasons why, one of those stories I haven't told you, from here from Perth. I gave a talk at Christchurch Grammar School many years ago. It's a top Christian school here in Perth. And because I know the chaplain there, who did some work on people with cancers. And so he invited me, he said, you could give so good talks and tell jokes, and bad jokes sometimes, but he said jokes. And can you come to our school and teach the kids? So I went there one morning. If you've ever been to Christchurch Grammar School, it's a beautiful campus overlooking the river. So only sort of very wealthy people usually go there, and Buddhist monks as well, just to give a talk. So I went there and had to wait outside while the kids settled, just boys on that day. And so I stood outside with the chaplain and also with the headmasters. And the headmaster turned to me and said, "This is a strong Christian school. So when we go inside, we have a little statue of Jesus. And it's our custom, it's our rule that we have to bow to that statue of Jesus. But you're a Buddhist monk, you don't have to." I think you all know me well enough. And I turned around to the principal, the headmaster, and said, "I demand my right to bow to your statue of Jesus." And I remember his reaction. He thought, "Who's this crazy guy coming to our school?" And then I said, "Thank you. I now have the subject for my talk to the kids." And as I went in, I bowed to their statue of Jesus like the other two did. Only just a nod of the head. And then I gave this talk to the kids. Why do Buddhist monks bow to the statue of the Buddha? It's inanimate. But it's not any sort of relics inside of it we bow to. To me, it's what it means to me. And whenever I see a statue of the Buddha, the first bow I do is to virtue. And not the rules, the sense of rules, you get punished if you break them, but what they represent, like, the honesty, the goodness. If I make a promise to you, I'll try my hardest to keep it. And if I can't do something, I won't lie to you. That's really I can't stand that when people lie. I will try and keep my precepts as best I possibly can. If something breaks, then I'll let other monks know and make amends. So my precepts, virtue, is an important part. And I know just how the virtue really assists one's meditation. If you want really deep meditation, sometimes don't just think, is my posture correct, or am I meditating on the right thing? Check your precepts. If your precepts are pure, meditation is so much easier. So I bow to virtue. And the second thing I bow to is the idea of peace. You've heard me talk about peace before, but peace in the community, in the monastery, in the Buddhist society, in the world, and especially peace individually when I meditate. That's really important. You understand what peace is and how it's worked? If you want something different, want something more, you don't find peace. Be content, easily satisfied. And then peace is just there. And the next thing which I bow to is compassion. Sometimes I do wisdom, but compassion is just so beautiful. And the usual example I give to people, many years ago there was a Laotian refugee who used to come to our temple in Perth. And the poor lady, there was a mistake. She got sent in a refugee camp to Australia, to Perth. All her relations got sent to Oregon in the US. But she kind of started to settle down in Perth. Only then she got a letter from one of her brothers that her mother was dying, her last illness. And I remember just talking to her. I remember this Laotian, a refugee, she's getting herself settled here. And then she got this letter, come to Oregon now, your mum is dying. There's enough Asians here, you know just how important that is, to be with your mum one last time. She had no money. No way could she afford, to buy an airline ticket to go from Perth to the United States. She was weeping her eyes out. And then as I was trying to console her, I saw this other lady. She was a Thai lady, a nurse, but she was out of work. She'd injured her back. She hadn't got any compensation yet. She was just cleaning up. She took out of her handbag her checkbook. Remember those days you had checkbooks? She took the checkbook out of her bag and she started writing something on it. And she tore out the check, gave it to the Laotian lady. It was a blank check. She dated it, signed it, and gave it to the Laotian lady. Go and visit your mum. It's a beautiful act. She didn't ask, how much is the airfare. She just wrote the blank check. And both of them hugged and cried. It's one of the most beautiful, selfless, generous acts you've ever seen. And I always remember that as an example of compassion, kindness. And so those are the three things which I said I bow to. Virtue, peace, and compassion. At the end of my talk, a day or two later, got a phone call from the principal. And he said, I've arranged a bus to come to your monastery with many of the kids on it. I remember the kids because I took them into my cave. They were about 14 or 15-year-olds. And when they came into my cave, their comment was, this will be a great place for a rave. Right for your party. But the principal came earlier. He came first of all in his car. And as soon as he came, I took him inside, Jhana Hall. And I never asked him. He took off his shoes. I took off my sandals. And we walked in front of the Buddha statue. We both bowed 3 times to the Buddha statue in Bodhinyana Hall. He wasn't a Buddhist, but he understands why we bow. Why not bow to virtue, peace, compassion? When you bow to it, you remember it. When you remember it, you reinforce its practice in your life. So that was a beautiful case of what Buddha statues are about. They remind us of what the practice of Buddhism really is. Well, those are my stories of Buddha statues. Dear Ajahn, if fully enlightened beings no longer reside in this world, could they still be able to intervene during our times of distress? You say, if fully enlightened beings no longer exist in the world. What are you talking about? There are fully enlightened beings in this world. It's hard to tell who is fully enlightened and who's not fully enlightened. Give them 2 pots of curry and see what they do. You know that story. But the only way to really know is actually to live with them for a long time. Now, Ajahn Brahm, he passed away, but for many years I often thought, is he really enlightened or not? So he had psychic powers, and that was easy to test. But the one thing out of all those experiences I had with Ajahn Brahm, which convinced me he was a fully enlightened being, was when he asked me one day, can you get me, was it a robe? Nothing, it was a little book which he said he was in his private quarters, in the room where he slept. He'd only usually let a novice go up there to clean the room. In all those years I was with him, it's the first time he let me in to his private bedroom. And I saw how he lived. And I was really impressed. He slept on the floor. Did he have a mattress? No. He had one of the grass mats. That's all he slept on. A pillow? Do you think he had a pillow? He had a wooden pillow. And his robes, there was hardly anything there. He had so few things. That's what impressed me. And at this time, when I went up there, he was famous. The Queen of Thailand would come up there, to ask questions. And she had heaps of money, always offering things, but he had nothing for himself. When it's someone who could have whatever he wanted, and to see he had absolutely nothing, so simple stuff, that really impressed me. The way he practiced was not to accumulate things, but to live with absolute minimum. There are enlightened beings in this world. If anybody says to you they're enlightened, that's a sure thing they're not. You check them out. That's how you find out. Yesterday you said death is not a problem because the stream of consciousness will just continue. But what if we don't get in touch with the Dhamma in the next life? Thank you. If you've been inclining towards the Dhamma in this life, you'll be inclining towards the Dhamma in the next life. The way the Buddha said it, if a tree is leaning to the west, when it falls down, it's most likely to fall down in a westerly direction. Same if you're coming. If many of you have been coming to a Buddhist monastery for such a long time, it's obviously where you're going to get reborn. If you don't get in the higher realm, at least you get born close to a Buddhist monastery. You understand it, you get attracted towards it. And so it's very unlikely that you don't get into a Buddhist monastery next lifetime. It's just our job, Venerable Mudu's job, to build monasteries. So there's one close to you next time. And the nuns' monastery, so you can go and visit nuns. It's a kind of a bit of a burden for me. But there's a couple of non-binary girls. Girls? No, I can't say that. But, non-binary people I know. And they said they don't really fit into a monk's monastery, nor into a nun's monastery. I said, can we please have is it binary or non-binary? A non-binary monastery. So we don't just distinguish between male, female. And they got a good point. It kind of made me think, how can we do this? I can't forget it. It's a kind of my goal. So anyway, that's what happened in your next life. Thanks for the question. Dear Ajahn, you talked about the lady experiencing jhana in her NDE, near-death experience. What determines whether we experience jhana when we die? Is it possible to become a stream winner at the moment of death experience? Yes. Glad you mentioned that. Because your death, it is a special moment. If you've been practicing meditation, practicing the Dhamma, you understand what's going on and you don't just give in to fear. It's amazing. You're going to have to let go of lots of things when you die. All those possessions you spent so much time protecting, all those attachments to your children and other relations, you have to let it all go. You're dying. Not only that, so much else you have to let go of. Your body. You know how much we have to look after this body. It's really a pain, isn't it? You have sicknesses, you can take a pill for this and a pill for that and a pill for something else. And you have to and people tell me I should exercise. Many of you already told me I should exercise. That's why I have the 2 ears, one for in, one for out. I always like to exercise my mind more than my body. It's one of the reasons why. I tell people I do those 10 push-ups every morning. That's right. 1, 2. Because I feel like keeping a good, happy mind is one of the best causes for health. So anyway, it is true that when a person passes away, it's a powerful moment of renunciation. And if you know what you're doing and understand a little bit what the Buddha said about the stream of consciousness, it's not a soul, it's not a being. You can actually see non-self. And maybe that's the time when you can become a stream winner. It's nice and encouraging, trying all your life, but life is busy. When you die, you've got to let go. Ajahn said there is no decision nor will, but there are causes and conditions, correct? My question, where does the free will take place? It doesn't. In our common knowledge, we do have wills and decisions to make. Please explain. Why do you make those decisions? Because they're caused, they're conditioned, you have to. You know, sometimes, I don't know if you have authority. I'm supposed to be the spiritual director of the BSWA, so sometimes I have to make decisions. How do I make them? What's it? Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. And I'm being honest. Because sometimes it doesn't matter what the decision is. It's why you made the decision, how you made the decision, and most importantly, what you do next. When you go outside this hall, you can go straight, you can go right. Left is a bit more difficult. You've got a choice to go right or straight on outside this hall. It doesn't really matter which way you go. You still go back to your heart eventually. That's one of the things you notice in life. You turn left or you turn right. It's not that crucial. What's really crucial is what you do next. And so many people waste so much time making decisions, worrying, should I do it this way, should I do it that way, oh my goodness, maybe I can reconsider, maybe I should go and get a consultant, maybe I should actually flick a coin. Heads, I did this once over in Oslo University. Because some lady asked, I've got a big decision to make, I don't know what to do. And I just said, well, let's make it sort of a decision people can understand. Suppose your decision is whether I should marry that guy sitting next to me or refuse his offer. She went red in the face. I got the cause of her having to make a decision accurate the first time. That's what she was thinking. Should I marry him or should I marry someone else? And I said, it doesn't matter. He said, what to do? Get a coin out. And this is the most important decision in your life. Should I get married to this guy, my boyfriend, or should I dump him? Get a coin out, toss it. Heads, I marry him. Tails, I don't. Did you do that when you got married? Why not? It saves a lot of thinking, should I not, should I not. So you toss the coin. Heads, I marry him, tails, I don't. And it comes up tails. I don't. How do you feel? If you think, let's try 2 out of 3. That tells you what you're really thinking. You really do want to marry him. If it comes up heads, which means I marry him, you think, yeah, let's try a couple of times. It shows you don't want to. It's just trying to reveal, what you really think, underneath whatever else you're doing. It doesn't really matter. If you decide not to marry him, you'll have another chance later on if he really loves you, and you'll ask again. So you always have, you have these choices we make in life. You turn left when you go outside the Jhana grove, or you turn right. it's not that crucial in your life. So I make decisions, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and just see what happens. Is that what you do at Body Jhana? Great Southern? Bit of both. Very good. I taught him well. He doesn't admit anything. Okay. Oh, got lots of time. What I understood was eye consciousness will not create on a blind person. You reckon? Sometimes that it can create something, but also like a fantasy world. What is a blind person anyway? I remember this wonderful little story which I saw in a science magazine of this little kid who was born deaf. And he would always go to the doctor, to get a checkup, make sure the rest of him was okay. And then one day, when they went for his checkup, the doctor said, that new scientific discoveries have found as the cause of deafness, which actually can be cured. And I think, not certain, but your son may have that reason why he's deaf. Can I please have your permission to do a little operation? I cannot guarantee this, but it may restore his hearing. If you were the parents of that little son, what would you say? You say, it's not dangerous, it's done for free. Can we do it? I said, oh yeah, give it a try. It worked. The son could hear. And the son was very angry at his parents. You never asked me. You assumed I wanted to hear. To me, it's just another noise. I have to start learning language and sound now. Sometimes we have assumptions. Of course, they didn't, the little kid couldn't hear. So they didn't understand what the conversation was all about. But that had a profound effect on me. We assume that people want to have all their five senses. Do they? And anyway, the sense of sight, a blind person, will they have this imaginary sight, sense base? Anyway. Oops, it's upside down, that's why I couldn't understand it. Dear Ajahn, letting go means not wanting anything. Does trusting the meditation process, knowing it will take me to jhana, one day, someday, some year, some lifetime, means there is still wanting element which will hinder my progress? When you know what jhana is, it's not built of wanting. It's a very deep sense of letting go. So you're just not disturbed by anything. The sound of the aircon, you just can't hear it. Aches and pains in the body, you abandon them. And you get so still, your five senses just turn off. And then you experience the jhanas, which are so much more beautiful. So it's like wanting, it's not just another sense, sort of having a nice object to look at and to be with. This thing's actually totally vanishing. It's almost going to a default state. When everything else is let go of, do you have the jhanas? It's not something you add to in your life. It's something which happens once everything else vanishes and disappears. That's why when people do die, a lot of times they can see lights. Have you ever heard when somebody dies, sometimes their parents say, don't go towards the light? If your parents say that, it means they know that you're about to die. Me, I don't mind dying. Please say to yourself, please go towards the light. And then if you can merge into that light, you experience the jhana. If you have some understanding of the Dhamma, when you come out of that jhanic experience, you may even become a stream winner. Just like, again, quoting her again, Anita Moajani, she understood why she had cancer. So when she came back into her body, she could transcend it. It disappeared. So that's what you can do. I don't know the jhana. Why do I have delusion? What is delusion? Why do I have greed? And then you can let it go. Encore for Lotus story, but without gong or nothing. Encore for Lotus story. Wow, that is a very smart question. It's beyond me. So, anyway, you can ask it again if you wish tomorrow, because I don't actually understand what that really means. I heard from Theravada monks mention the age of Sakyamuni Buddha's teachings would only last 5,000 years. Is that correct? It is uncertain. They can say that only lasts 5,000 years simply because they won't be there to be embarrassed when it lasts longer. So now the teachings are flourished, which means they are well preserved. Exactly. So it could last a bit longer. Who knows? The Buddha never made predictions. Ajahn Chah never made predictions, except for once. The only time Ajahn Chah ever made a prediction. This guy came up to him and said, Ajahn Chah, I've been looking after you, giving you food, offering my car to drive you wherever you need to go. I've been so faithful to building this monastery called Wat Ba Pong. And now I want to ask you, I know you can read my future. You know, you've got your powers. Can you please tell me what my future is going to be? You can read the lines in the palm of my hand. Ajahn Chah said, we don't usually do that. I know you don't usually do that, but I've been looking after you. And I know you gave many a sermon on gratitude. I've looked after you. It's the first time I've ever asked for anything from you. Can you please read the lines on the palm of my hand? And the way he asked Ajahn Chah, I said, okay, fair enough. It's always good to have gratitude. You have looked after me for so many years. Perhaps I can do that for you. So the guy was really excited. Some of you know the story. So excited when Ajahn Chah started tracing the lines on his hand. Every now and again Ajahn Chah would pause. Oh. Yeah, what is it? I'll tell you later. I'm not sure about that. And I thought, oh, wow, amazing. And this poor guy was getting so wound up. And when Ajahn Chah finished tracing all the lines on this guy's palm, what's my future going to be then? He said, listen, I will not tell any lies. He says, I know, you're honest. And I have read the lines on the palm of your hand. And I can now tell you honestly, and you'll find it's not a mistake. Yeah, I know it's not a mistake. You know, get on with it. I want to find my future. And he looked at this guy and said, sir, your future, yeah. Your future is uncertain. And Ajahn Chah was not wrong. I know what the weather's going to be tomorrow. Uncertain. Anyway, that's why Ajahn Chah never predicted the future. And even the Buddha never predicted the future. A few times he was quoted as predicting the future. It was totally a dodgy teaching. Dear Ajahn, my husband passed away 2 years ago, and I still talk to his photo. Does he talk back at you? Sorry. My husband passed away 2 years ago, and I still talk to his photo. Will this prevent his moving on, rebirth, etc.? When he was alive, he is a Buddhist, but too busy with work to practice. I transfer memories to him when doing Jhana and the Tarot's chantings. Will this help him? Thank you. If it helps him, usually after 2 years, he'd probably be reborn by now. But it helps you. And it helps everybody who hears that. Somebody who is important to you, your husband, maybe the father of your kids, and you still treat him with a sense of gratitude and kindness. My mother passed away, how many years ago now? Maybe 45 years. Father passed away over 60 years ago. I always make the opportunity to share merit with them as much as I possibly can. I still remember my mother's favorite food. You know what it was? Sorry? No. Eels. Not eels. No, it was sausage and mash, bangers and mash. And there's one of the Thai ladies here. She's basically brought up over in Australia, but she married a Thai guy. There's Munissa, are you here? No. Munissa knows the family very well. And one day that, she invited me for Jhana at her house, and she offered me sausage and mash. She said, why do you offer me that? And then I looked at the calendar, and it was the date of my mother's birthday. So I ate some and shared merits with my mum. Why she got that recipe, I'm not sure. But it was like a wonderful, I made use of it to remember my mother and sort of, share merits with her. So many years after she died. I still do that, I know how it works. Even if I've got a powerful mind, and if my mother doesn't receive it, because she's got reborn already, her latest rebirth, I can share it with that. It gets to her, and it gets to me too. It feels so lovely that you can remember your mum and still do something for her. Same with my dad too. So it's great. I transfer merits to him when doing Jhana and Tarot's chantings. Will this help him? It probably will, but it will certainly help you as well. How are you doing? Are you bored yet? Okay. What time is it? 11 o'clock? No. No, not yet. Dear Ajahn, that monk that you know who experienced the memory of being in a prison and smelling his mum after a deep meditation, of being not in a pram and smelling his mum after a deep meditation, where did he experience going and being when he asked? Earlier, please. That's what you do to actually, especially if you remember a previous life, and again, it's unpleasant. Imagine if you had, all the screenshots or the tapes of your previous life. Which ones would really stand out for you? A lot of times, your previous deaths, because they're really intense experiences, and they're also very unpleasant. And I said this story because some of the students, they complained to me. They said, "Look, Ajahn Brahm, I did this, what's my earliest memory? And I got, my past life when I died, and that was not very nice. And can you please tell people what to do if you're sitting in the hall here with a nice healthy body? You remember that what happened to you in the past when you died. You could be in a war, being blown up, or having your head cut off. And all these unpleasant deaths, when most deaths are unpleasant, what should you do if you start re-experiencing that? And of course the answer was, ask yourself, earlier please. And the mind is just, or the memory is just so obedient. It just goes back to an earlier memory of a previous life, which is easier to endure. So you don't torture yourself. That's just basic compassion. Okay, one of these hypnotic regressions. It's a really good, really interesting one. There was a hypnotist over in Sydney, and she had the case that she was investigating, or he was investigating, was this young girl who was anorexic, and really badly anorexic, that she was killing herself. And the doctors couldn't help her, so they asked to see if they can hypnotize her to get her back to her past life. But she was so young, her mother had to be there with her. And as they were regressing this young girl, the young girl just, a long story, but it was about her previous life. She had fallen in love with this guy, and her elder sister had also fallen in love with him. And her elder sister was, more attractive, so that guy chose the elder sister, and the younger sister was so heartbroken that she committed suicide. And now she's been reborn as a daughter of of her mum. And as this was being recounted, the mother started going hysterical. And the poor regression psychologist, why are you going hysterical? And this woman said, because I was that sister. I never told my daughter that she had an auntie. I was embarrassed about that my younger sister committed suicide. It's a family secret. This is what happened. I had that sister, she fell in love with the guy I eventually married, and you can understand why this young girl was so upset. She was trying so hard to be attractive that she was hardly eating. She was anorexic. And why she managed to get reborn as her sister's daughter, to be close to the guy she really loved, her dad. Do you understand that? It's a true story. So sometimes rebirth can be really weird. Question to all the monks and nuns. Have any of you attained the first jhana? If yes, how long have you been practicing being a monk or a nun? You know that sometimes I say, I know a monk who... That's because it's one of our rules. Even if it's true, we're not allowed to tell people. So what we do is we say, I know a monk or a nun who did this, did that. And we don't say anything like that, because if you have attained a first jhana, it does give you special abilities. And of course, all of you would want to be taught meditation by a person who had attained jhanas. And you want to listen to their Dhamma talks. And that just gives them so much stress that they die young. Do you want to kill the monks and the nuns? So sometimes it's not good to ask that question. But of course some do. And again, I just know that one nun, I won't going to tell you who she is. She was the one, she was on one of my retreats. And at the end of the retreat, she's really putting a lot of effort, into sitting a lot. At the end of her retreat, she's getting nowhere. But then, before she left the retreat center, it was over in Thailand, to fly back to her hometown, she said her flight wasn't going to leave till much later. Her taxi was due to arrive in about an hour and a half. So she just went into the hall to kill time. That's what she said, to kill time. It's a bad word to use. Sometimes is that parnatipata, killing time? But that's what we say in English. So she went into the hall to kill time. And when she came out of the hall, I was just sitting by the table, not on the table, and just having a drink of, I forget what, I think it was coconut juice, I'm not sure. But anyhow, she came there just kneeling. And I will never forget what she looked like. She had her hands up like this. She's still a lay person. Oh, Ajahn Brahm. Oh, I finally got into one of these deep meditations. It's beautiful. Oh. I told the story before. It's like, I remember just people falling in love. And the fact that they met the woman in their dreams and they're going to get married. Oh, I finally met him. Oh. But this was just getting into a jhana for the first time. The afterglow was just so strong. And it was quite amazing afterglow. And then eventually she became a monk. Sorry. I'm not. A bad joke came to me, oh my goodness, during meditation last night. Oh my goodness. In medieval England, in a Franciscan house, a master lives with his 3 students. This is interesting. This will always get precedence. The master wants to test which of his students can become a worthy successor after he passes away. So the master, suppose I was sick and had a bad kidney. If the Lord could come down, if the Lord could grant you a wish, which one of you, if the Lord could grant you a wish, who would you wish for? And student A, I wish you can replace your bad kidney with my good one. I am ready to suffer on your behalf. Good, said the master. Would you do that to me, nuns? No comment, okay. Student B, I wish I could let the Lord fix your bad kidney, but I won't give you my own kidney. As you taught us, we need to treat ourselves as kindly as we treat others. It's like a Buddhist, isn't it? Fantastic. So you were right for being non-committal, nuns. Student C, a young friar called... Student C was a young friar called Ajahn Brahm. goes, Master, I wish you are so content you will even want to keep your I wish you are so content you won't even want to keep your good kidney anymore. Fair enough. So content he just can die. Is that good? Yeah, I thought it was fun anyway. Thank you. Okay. Dear Ajahn Brahm, after you mentioned the relics in Bodhinyana, I went to see them this morning. They were amazing and awe-inspiring. Thank you for keeping these priceless jewels here for us. Could you please tell the story of the relic that got knocked over and vacuumed? Yes. There was this monk called Ajahn Tate, I mentioned him. He came over to Western Australia some years ago, and he went to go and visit one lady over in the town of Manjimup and offered her 3 Buddha relics. This was the time of so few Buddhists, and she was a very devout Buddhist practitioner. Her husband eventually left her, but nevertheless, she kept these 3 Buddha relics in her house. And when one day she needed to do some renovations in her house, that she hired a handyman. And the handyman would do little renovations here and there under her instructions. And one day the handyman knocked the relic casket on the shrine over, and it opened. He never told her, he just put it back again. But 2 of the relics had fallen out. There's only 1 relic left in there. And when it fell out, and she was never told by the handyman what had happened. And so in those few days, she'd taken a vacuum cleaner and vacuumed. It was one of those, not electric vacuum cleaners, the one you have to push. And she vacuumed the carpet and poured the contents of the vacuum cleaner on the compost pile in the garden. And when she checked the relic casket and the handyman said it was him, he knocked it over, she was kind of devastated, only having 1 relic left. She was handed these by a very good monk, and she felt very guilty. And at that time, she decided to use a tea strainer, like a mesh tea strainer, and to strain all of the compost in the compost pile to search for the missing relic. It took her months. She found one. She put that relic back in the casket, but she was still missing the 3rd one. And that's when Ajahn Chakra went to visit her. And she said just how disappointed she was that she hadn't been careful enough with the relics which were entrusted to her, and 1 had vanished. She only had 2. And then sometime later, I was working very hard, building Bodhinyana Monastery, and Ajahn Chakra sent me to her place. She had a nice kuti in the back garden, and her son was there too, to make sure I couldn't break any rules. And she told me about the thing with the relic. I still remember this particular time, because it was the time they had the Tiananmen affair in Beijing. I forget what year that was. But anyway, at that time I was having a cup of tea in her house. And that's when she told me the story of the missing relic. And I said, it's such a shame. She was very disappointed in herself, which, is not her fault. But then, of course, I asked her, when was the last time you looked in the relic casket? She said, a couple of months ago. please let me see it. And she handed me the relic casket. I opened the lid. How many can you count? 1, 2, 3. It had come back. And she was stunned. The relic which had gone missing had returned. She hadn't found it, it just went into that relic casket by itself. And she paused the conversation, didn't drink her tea, went to the desk, got out some paper to write it down, to keep a record of the amazing return of her third relic. That's what happens with those relics. Sometimes people ask me, how does that happen? How can something which fell out of the relic casket, and she looked in there again and again and again. She's spent a couple of months, straining through a compost pile, I don't know how many hours every day, looking for the missing 2 relics. She found 1. And then eventually the third one returned by itself. That's why there are heavenly beings. Give you 9 bottles of Pepsi Cola, not because I needed that much, just to make sure I had no doubts that they are really there to help you when you really deserve to be helped. And they're the ones, part of their duties, I don't know, is to look after the relics. That's why also there was the president of the Buddhist Society in Victoria. He admitted to me, he was very embarrassed, he was a Sri Lankan. And somebody had given him some Buddha relics. And so he was a busy man. And so he put those Buddha relics in the cupboard in his house, instead of taking it to the temple. When it came around to a Vesak celebration, he remembered those relics. Oh, I should have brought those back to the temple. So he opened up the cupboard, found them empty. No one had touched them. He hadn't sort of respected them. So they disappeared. That's what happens. Okay? Anyway, let's see. What am I doing now? That went quick, 9:05. Should I finish off? After the next question? No. You tired? Okay, tomorrow. Okay, thank you for all those questions. Some nice good ones. And a few stories, all honest ones. And it gives you some bigger understanding of what Buddhism is. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. Oh my goodness. Doesn't matter, whatever happens. Encore for the Lotus story. Okay. And thanks for whoever wrote the story of, why not, of Ajahn Brahm. It was nice. Honestly, did that go on too long for you? Okay.